How groovy is that? So
I love it.
Welcome, Zet. We've just today used our new graphic introduction, and it was just very cool. And I'm going to apologise before I say anything, Zet, about introducing you. I apologise. 5 minutes ago, they started jackhammering outside my window here. I'm 18 floors up, but I think they're 20 floors up, and they're making a lot of noise. So I apologise. I'll mute myself whenever I can, but I'm really, really excited today to introduce Zet. Zet's just a legend of a person. I've been doing some other work with Zet recently in regard to we've been learning all about Facebook advertisements and how to market using Facebook ads and so on. So I've loved our time together already, Zet, and excited about what you have to say today. You have so many things on your resume. I don't know what to start, but effectively, I just want to introduce you because what you're spending most of your time doing at the moment is helping women have what you call a balanced and beautiful life set, and talking about the body they desire and love the body they're in. So, Zet, while I mute myself now, how about you take over and tell people what it is that you do before we go off too far?
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much. This is really fun to be with you. I know it's Monday morning for you. It's Sunday at about 5 p.m. for me in California. So I've watched your other interviews, and I love that you're focusing on gratitude and motivation. So I'm happy to be here to share, my experience with those kinds of things. And I love that, becoming balanced and beautiful is sort of, when you do that, all kinds of other things fall together. So it's not so much that we're focused on how do you lose 20 pounds or how do you look 10 years younger or how do you, lift 20 more pounds of weight or anything like that. It's that when we focus on the idea of being balanced and beautiful, those other things are side effects of it. They're just the icing on the cake. And so in my work as a life coach and also as a brain health coach, I can bring together a lot of the neuroscience, a lot of the ideas about how women's bodies, especially over 40, how they change, how the balance can get unbalanced. And that is a key reason that we end up with shapes that we're not happy with. And so I'm excited to be sharing that with women right now.
That's great. Well, look, we talked about this before. This is so funny because Zet was saying, "Gee, you got a lot of noise in the background there." I said, "At least we don't have to contend with animals today." And there you go, on cue. That is just so poetic. And now you've muted yourself. That's great. But look, I love what you're doing, and when you were the work we were doing together with the coaches we were using, you were talking about melting body fat and all that stuff, and I love some of the lines and the images that you were using. And I'm not a woman, so I guess maybe you can help me. But I want you to know that I did a Mind Valley webinar thing with Vision a couple of weeks ago, and look, he really inspired me as well. And my son's been on me for ages about starting fasting. So just over a week ago, I started I'm starting with 16/8 fast, and I've dropped just under nearly 3 kilos in that first week. And my goal is, and I'm saying this publicly because Kate Americano put the pressure on me a couple of weeks ago, as you would know, and so my goal is 10 kilos in 2 months. So I'm on the way. But look, we're not here to talk about me today, Zet. We're here to talk about all things gratitude, positivity. And so just, can you let us know what you do what are your routines that you use? Because this is, I think, what helps people. And anybody who wants to make a comment, please feel free to make comments while we're chatting here. We'll see them. But Zet, what are the routines you use on a weekly basis from a gratitude point of view, from positivity to get your mindset right, and so on? Do you want to just talk about those? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you, I have been on this journey for a long time. Now probably 30 years of learning and discovering. I'm a huge fan of Mind Valley as well. So along the way, there are things that have really worked for me that I've collected. I'm also a traditional storyteller, so I really love traditional folklore and the richness in those stories. And becoming a storyteller really taught me how to listen. And so one of the main things that I feel really keeps me in balance is listening to myself, really listening for that quiet inner voice. And so there's a lot of great tools that we have that can help us listen to that inner voice more effectively. Of course, journaling. I know you and Jane talked about that. Um, yeah. Yes, I
If I
get
may
it.
just, sorry, I just did put a link up there to the 5 Minute Journal, and certainly a few weeks ago, someone was talking about the 5 Minute Journal, and what I found was that you can get it for your iPhone and your iPad. So I'm now day 3 into my journaling on this 5 minute journal app, which is fantastic. So I just thought I'd give them a poke. It's only about $5 or something. So you don't have an
Yeah.
excuse for not having it.
Well, no, that's fantastic. I mean, it really 5 minutes is more than enough to start that listening process, and for me, it's really about letting these different aspects of myself. So, I have a negative experience. Let's say I feel frustrated, or I feel unheard, or I feel unloved, or something, right? Our natural tendency, because of our brains, is to say, I don't want to see you. Just go away. Go get outside, go in the closet. I just don't bother me with these icky, uncomfortable feelings, right? And it's so natural to do that. So one of the things that journaling can help you do is to have a conversation with that unpleasant feeling, which is really, that opens the doorway to really becoming more balanced and beautiful, actually. One of the practices that I've developed and I've used now for about 6 or 7 years, it's based on a number of different traditions that I learned, but essentially, when I have an uncomfortable, negative, unhappy experience, rather than say, get out, I say, I see you. So right then, instead of ignoring or avoiding, I'm saying, look, I see you. And then I say, I embrace you, meaning you are welcome here. You are not a bad thing. You're not undesirable. You're not ugly. I welcome you. I embrace you. And then I say, I appreciate you, because when we appreciate the fact that this feeling showed up to tell us something, we're not saying, I enjoy how I'm feeling right now. We're saying, thank you for catching my attention and helping me have this conversation and be aware. And then I say, I love you. And that brings that feeling home. So it's, I see you, I embrace you, I appreciate you, I love you. It's SEAL. So part of becoming balanced and beautiful, I teach women to seal their belly, but we can seal all parts of ourselves. And that is a huge thing that we can do that really brings us back to our heart and our body and our mind, which is so key for having the body we desire.
Absolutely. And by recognizing things, what you're really saying is, instead of ignoring it and it'll just keep coming back, is identify it, appreciate it, and just go, okay, I understand what this is, but I'm not going to have this in my life anymore. And you then make the decision to exclude that out of your life. But until Dan Sullivan, and I'm a Dan disciple, one of his quotes is, and you can't make any progress in life until you tell the truth. And that resonates with what you're saying. You're telling the truth about understanding what's happening. Tell the truth about it, and then you can make a positive decision about eliminating that out of your life. You transform the experience so that you don't have that experience anymore.
Yeah, you are spot on, because I think of it like zombies
Thank you.
out. Yeah, spot on. Think of it like zombies. So, in my earlier years, if I had a negative experience and it was uncomfortable and unpleasant, I would shove that thing out the front door, lock it, and say, don't come back. But you know what? The problem is they all hang out in the front yard. And so over the decades, you collect this like yard full of zombies, and they're all wanting to come back home. And every time a new problem or feeling comes to the door, the zombies are like, hey, it's time. And so that's why over time, something that would have been small 20 years ago feels a lot bigger and a lot heavier and has a lot more charge to it because it's got all that backstory hanging on, trying to get in the front door. So as soon as you open the door and say, I see you, I embrace you, you just welcome them. I appreciate you. You've hung out for a long time. You've waited for me to listen to you. I'm grateful for that. And I love you. And literally they come home, they go to work, they start cleaning your house for you. I mean, it's amazing what can happen.
So tell me, what do you, look, we obviously identify with all those things. So tell me, do you have routines on a daily basis in regard to gratitude, for example? What do you do in regard to gratitude?
Well, I do have a morning meditation practice, and that, while it isn't specifically focused on gratitude, is so essential for clearing my mind and harmonizing really the thoughts. And once my brain has that sort of harmony, and it's interesting, there's great scientific research on meditation. You've probably seen it. It is shown to increase blood flow to a lot of parts of the brain, especially your prefrontal cortex. So doing meditation is essential. And I have found that you can do it for 2 minutes, you can do it for 10, you can do it for 20. If you are someone who's comfortable going longer, great. I'm really those are my options for me that work. And then gratitude is, again, honestly, it's just using SEAL no matter what comes my way. And it just opens the door. And I let my clients know, don't worry if you don't feel those feelings. Like you don't feel like I love this feeling. No, you don't have to feel it. The fact that you are actually just having the conversation starts to shift the relationship. And when the relationship shifts, that's when the feelings can come, including gratitude. Because we can't get gratitude when we're focused on fear. In fact, when you look at brain scans, I've worked with Dr. Amen, not directly, but through his training. Yeah. And, there are certain parts of the brain that become overactive when we are worried, scared, frightened, anxious. What's interesting is he had a woman come and ask to have her brain scanned while she was feeling gratitude. And he said, okay, I'll do that, but you have to do it a second time. And the second time, I want you to think of all the things you hate about your life. And she did not want to do that, right? That was not her jam. But he said, no, if we don't see how they compare, how will you know? So she agreed, and it's extraordinary what happens with her brain when she is feeling grateful. It activates the cerebellum, which is a really essential part for not physical balance, but emotional and mental balance. Also coordination and balance, but very much so for integrating thoughts and experiences. Now, when she did the focusing on all the things she hated in her life, that went completely dark. And instead, she had this very intense frontal stuff happening, which these are the areas associated with fear, worry, inability to stop, like focusing on something negative. And so it was a really wonderful live demonstration of how your brain changes when you make a choice to feel gratitude. So one of the ways I've learned to do it is to make that list, or Barbara Fredrickson she teaches positive psychology in Chapel Hill University in North Carolina. She says, have a positivity portfolio. So I have that on my phone where I have an album of images, of photos that all are things that I love. And so when I need to kind of induce those sensations of positivity, I just go to that album and I'm like, oh, I love you. Oh, I love you too. And that helps me feel
I've created the same thing. And I'm glad you've created that, because I have on my desktop on the computer here, I have a number of photos, and I've called it my positivity folder. And
oh my gosh.
what it does is when I'm not that I get down, but as much, but it's just occasionally you just go, yeah, let me give myself a little boost here, and I just go and look at all the images, and I go, yeah, great. And that gives me a whole lot of confidence, because it's things that have happened in my past, and it just gives me a really great feeling about which in turn then gives you more confidence in regard to moving forward, because if you've got that bank of stuff that has worked well in the past, that obviously cheers you up to move forward.
Yes.
So
yes.
And gratitude, I will just say too, yes, I'm in day 2. I did I did do some meditation a few years ago, and I've been meaning to, and after the Mind Valley thing, I thought, yep, this is it. And so I've fired up my Calm app on my iPhone, and I'm now to day 2 of that. So you keep a check on me in this group, and make sure that I stick to that, like I'm sticking to my fasting.
Yes,
So
well done.
tell me also, Zed, in regard to, so you've talked about gratitude and meditation and so on. The big rocks theory. Do you do something at the start of each day? Do you focus on what it is you want to achieve in a day? How do you plan for your day to make sure it's going to be a great day?
I used to be an avid list maker, and then I would check off my list. And I have found that in the last, I don't know, number of years, especially I think since becoming certified as a life coach, I was trained by an organization that focuses on energy leadership, which is that we all have access to 7 different levels of energy. And depending on where we are, we have an amazingly different experience, whether it's level 1 energy, which is very victim, level 2, which is confrontation, level 3, all the way up. That really loosened my grip on the idea that I needed to perform or meet some sort of checklist for myself. I find that being strongly connected to my core values is absolutely the best thing I can do. As long as I am clear on my values, then the actions I take throughout the day are really very, very, very easy. They line up with my values. And one way to really, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, if I can just cut in there, Kate Americano. I don't know if you watched hers from 3-4 weeks ago.
I think I did.
I've got a session with Kate next week after this to do my values. She's going to take me through and identify all my values for me. So it was interesting that you've brought up that very same thing today.
Absolutely.
So do you want to talk more about values?
Yeah, I think of them as the currents. So imagine you're paddling along on a river, a canoe or a kayak, right? And you don't see them, but there's currents under the water, and they are moving you. And so those times in life when we're like, "Ooh, this is good, we are mostly unknowingly going with the currents, which are our values. But then you hit those times where you're like, what just happened? This is so hard to do. I feel like I'm struggling. Well, it's because if you don't know what the values are, the currents under the river, how can you paddle in alignment with them? So it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to get even painful. It's going to get frustrating when we are doing things that don't nurture and nourish our values. So I don't think of it as much as me living according to my values, as much as how am I nurturing and nourishing my values? Because as I do things that nurture and nourish those values, boy, the currents of life just take me exactly where I want to be. And it's a beautiful ride,
Do you know, and I think, Zeb, what's your thoughts in regard to the last two? Good to see you having a cuppa.
Yeah.
I had to explain to Zeb this morning what boiling the billy meant. So for those of you who don't live in Australia, if you're watching this, it's when you're out in the campfire, so to speak, and you put your billy of tea into the fire and it boils up, and you dunk your mug in, and you get your cup of tea. So there you go. But my question was, the last 2.5 months while we've been going through the pandemic, global pandemic and so on, people will have been feeling really they've been in a wrong current, haven't they? A lot of people have really been paddling in a bad current for the last 2.5 months. And so really what it means is that life happens to you, and in times like this, it's really how you react to those sorts of changes in your external environment. And that's the very reason I created this weekly program, Tea and Scones, was really to help people who are hitting bad currents, have been and probably still are, to give them an opportunity to hear from people who have found good ways to make sure they maintain positivity, gratitude, the right mindset and so on during the week.
Yes, and so important that really it's the conversation that you're having with your values. It's the conversation you're having with your uncomfortable or unpleasant feelings. Energy leadership, it really is not just that there's any one level of energy that's better than another. It's how aware are you of the level that you're experiencing and coming from in that moment. So, you know, for instance, level 1 is victim energy. And you'd think, oh, I never want to feel that. Well, actually, you know, when you're feeling sick, you got a cold, that is the perfect time to say, yeah, this is happening to me, and I am going to go to bed, and I am going to have my cup of tea and Netflix. And yet there's other times where you may feel like you're at, like you said, at the victim of external conditions, when really you have the opportunity to say, okay, how do I want to experience this? Do I want to experience it as a victim? Do I want to experience it as someone who says, look, I like to play when we all win. So how can this happen in a way that gives good outcomes for you and you and you and you? So even with the pandemic, even with the quarantine, I know so many people, I'm sure you do too, who have found such gifts in this time and this whole way of experiencing life. So that's, you know, another, just a golden nugget of something that could be, that is stressful and difficult. But when you show up for it with that, you know, your heart open and your mind open, then you really can have a completely different experience.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I've you know, I believe a lot of people have taken the last 10 weeks, well, I've forgotten how long it is now, to be honest, but have taken the last 10 weeks and have transformed their businesses. You know, I know certainly I have. I mean, I've had to transform my business from being a, you know, high on mark, face to face with people, to try and transform it into a way where we can deal digitally, I guess, with people online. You know, we've created webinars, we've created ways to market, as you know, through online advertisements and so on. I set up a pub on Friday nights when it first happened for all the lonely people who were stuck at home by themselves. You know, we had Zoom meetings on a Friday night, and which was great. And for a lot of people, that was a great way to reconnect. So we did that. We've this Tea and Scones, and I've set up another weekly estate and succession mastery program from a business point of view. And so there's lots of things, and I've seen this happen with other firms as well. And I think there's going to be a lot more people, for example, now that it's going to be okay to work from home. They've worked out they can work from home. Businesses will probably find more productivity from them. In a lot of cases, you know, that you're saving on travel and all those sorts of, all the wasted time and so on during each day. And you know, I think we've all seen people who have taken this opportunity to make themselves better. But as night, there's day, there's probably been a lot of people who have just fallen in a hole too. And you know, I'd wish for them that they could hear the sorts of thinking that you have, Zet, and could focus on gratitude and so on, because there's going to be a lot of people at the end of this that are going to need to lift themselves up, and you know, there's going to be good people around to help them, I hope.
Yes, and you know, as I tell my clients, the bills are real. Not having enough food is real. You know, not having an income, that's real. All that's real. So when we talk about switching into gratitude and appreciation, I am never saying pretend that those things aren't there, right? One of the things that I really like to, you know, let my clients know is that we need to adjust your brain chemistry when you're in a fearful state, because yeah, all those things are real. However, when we approach trying to fix them or address them from fear, we don't have the ability to really draw on, you know, real creative solution thinking, right? So when you're fearful, you're tight. Yeah. And there's this part of the brain that when you're fearful and you cannot let go of a thought, it does not let you actually activate and draw upon all the creative parts of your brain. So there's some actual chemical things that you want to do. I mean, for instance, you want to look at how much vitamin D you're getting. So you really want to have that, because that's going to help balance not just your immune function and a lot of other things, but it's also going to help with your ability to have a more positive mood. Lavender has scientific evidence showing that it calms that scared, fearful brain. So buy yourself a lavender plant. Even if you don't get like essential oils or a candle, get the plant, break it open, do that. Know that you're changing your brain function in that moment, which will open a window. And when you open that window, that's when you can start to see, wow, okay, I do have something to be grateful for, you know, and that's where it starts.
And I'm going to use a big word here, corollary. Corollary? Is that how you say it?
Oh, I think we say corollary. I think we say
Okay, well,
corollary,
there
but
you go.
yeah. Well, I know.
Well, meaning the opposite of effectively is that when you're practicing gratitude, it's actually impossible to have a negative thought.
Yeah.
Correct.
It
So
is.
when you're in a grateful state, you cannot have bad thoughts. So
Right.
if you, and I don't mean to talk over you, but I just want to finish and say, so if you're in a position where things aren't going well, or you're wondering how to get out of a bad situation, whatever, the best thing you can do is to start focusing on the things that are working. Focus on what is working, and that's what we do in a lot of our exercises. Is the first thing we do is have a positive focus. We go, okay, what is working? In the last 3 months, what's going really well? What's happening right now that's going really well? And what are we most excited for in the future? And once you're having those thoughts, all of a sudden, it's impossible to be negative. So all of a sudden, you'll see opportunities open up, and you'll see the answers to a lot of things that might be giving you grief. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just reminded me, for years, I hated affirmations, hated them. I was like, ugh, these things do not work for me. And it took me a long time to finally figure out why. And it's because when you describe the difference between negative thoughts and feeling gratitude, gratitude is a feeling, right? Fear and negativity, I mean, fear is an emotion, but negativity is around thoughts. So you're talking about shifting from this like, can't shift my thoughts to openness, spaciousness. I'm allowed to feel. Suddenly you're accessing your entire body. You're breathing differently. And when you do that, yeah, I think you can. So you're right. If you're in a state of gratitude, which is about your body, your heart, your mind, all of it, you can't just have these narrow, scared, like moments, right?
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So tell me, on a how do people get in touch with you in regard to? So if there's the women that are watching this today, how do they get in touch with you? Is there something you can type in comments, or do you just want to speak it out?
Sure. I can type in the comments, and thank you for asking. It's zetharborcoach.com is my website. There I talk about how, for me, the greatest thing we can all do is walk only in our own footsteps, belong to ourselves, and beam our lights out into the world. So that's my hope for the world. That's why this mug says awaken.
That's great.
Yeah, and so as part of that, I've created this Balanced Beautiful Body Facebook group because I'm really interested in supporting women in learning to not just create the body they desire, but truly love the body they're in. And I really, I have figured out a way, because I've done it myself, to do it without any kind of grueling diets and no punishing workouts. And in fact, for women in our age group, it's really a bad idea to kind of do those things because they increase inflammation, cortisol, things that actually make it really hard for your body to let go of weight. So I can type that in the comments, but it's Zett, Zette, Harbour coach.com. And I know in America, Harbor is never spelled with a U, but in Australia it is, right?
It is. That's right. So it's easy for it. And Zett, that's an interesting name. Now, I've never met a Zett before. Where does Zett come from?
Well, I hope it won't disappoint you, but my full name is Suzette.
There you go.
I know, it's sort of like, oh, that's okay. So
you
years ago,
you shortened it to the other end, not the front end, the back end.
Right. Well, when I was a kid, my family called me Susie, and I was just like, I'm not going by Susie as an adult. And a coworker just like, well, then go the other way. And it's like, wow, I never thought of that. So it's stuck. And as a storyteller, as a performing storyteller, that was also the name I used. So it was a more fun name to use for that too.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And see, it's already created conversation today.
Yeah.
Hey, Zett, thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed our chat as I always do, and no doubt we'll keep in touch. People who want to search for your beautiful body, your Facebook group, do they just go into Facebook and search for, what's the word again?
It's Balanced Beautiful Body Facebook group. So yeah, they can just search it. It's available to find, and then they do have to request to join. It is a private group. It's a tender, vulnerable place, and I really want women to feel protected there. So, and Mark, actually, you're in that group too, so you are welcome to be part of our group.
I know. I feel like I'm one of all this crowd of women there, but I do keep I do keep following you to see how you're going. So
Thank you.
anyway,
Thank you.
thanks again, and we're going to go out with beautiful work done by Amy and Brooke Dorrit, our little outro today. So we'll
Thank you,
talk
Mark.
soon. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching.